Hello, everyone, and welcome to LinkedIn Live with John Espirian. So today we are going to talk about how to improve your LinkedIn profile and presence. And I am so happy to have John Espirian with us tonight, all the way from the UK. So thank you, John, for joining us.
Oh, you're welcome, Tina. I'm very happy to be here. So how do I say it? Kiitos, spasiba, and all of the other thank yous that you know how to say in your languages. So yes, I'm delighted to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's really great to have you here. For people who don't know John, he is a relentlessly helpful LinkedIn nerd and a copywriter. I met John on LinkedIn. We connected in March 2020, and we've been having conversations since then. I read his book, and I wanted to invite him for the LinkedIn Live. And so as something to look forward to, today we will also give out one of his content DNA books to the best comment. So let us know where you're joining from, and write the question in the comments, and so later we will send it to you. So it's not a sponsored post. It's really, I love the book. I have got so much help from it, and I bought it with my own money, so I want to share the knowledge with you.
Thank you, Tina. Yes, there it is. Yeah, you can get that if you leave us a good comment. So I'm looking forward to seeing the comments. And not just the book, you got the t-shirt as well. We're wearing that in honor of the fact that we've got the Friday t-shirts, even though it's not Friday. So I hope that doesn't confuse people too much. It is still Monday.
It is, but we're having the Friday feeling, and we are having our friends from all over the world joining us. Let's say hello to Risto Koskinen from Finland.
Nice. Hello, Risto.
And we also have our friend Rachel Simon from Atlanta. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. So I wanted to, and also Tamer is here from Egypt.
Okay. Nice.
Happy birthday.
Wow. Wow.
Dorothy from Belgium. Hello from Maasmechelen. Oh, we have also Veronica joining us from.
Oh, fantastic. I love Veronica. Hi, Vero. And Karen too. Excellent.
Oh,
great to see
Karen. You. So we have people joining us. Say hello. And if you have any questions to John, send them, and we will try to answer them as quickly as possible during the live today. So I learned so much from your book, Content DNA. There are so many things that really I didn't think about before, and I joined LinkedIn over 15 years ago, and I treated it as just having your CV up, and as a headhunter, I recruited people, looked at their CVs, but I wasn't really aware that LinkedIn was a social media platform. Maybe one and a half years ago, I realized that, and so when we started talking about having the live, we were going back and forth. What would be the name? And I suggested how to improve your profile. But improving the profile is just the first step. The presence is something that you have to work on every day. So
yeah.
what would be your tips on that?
Yeah, I mean, the process, the profile is your online business card, right? It's the thing, it's the place where you can really sell who you are. But that's only of some value if it's targeted enough that people can find it, right? So just creating a profile and leaving it there without doing anything is probably not going to get you enough attention. So it's still important. It's the foundational thing to get right. But building your presence really means going out, finding the right people who are likely to become potential clients in the future, and exposing yourself to a potential audience by doing things like commenting and ultimately creating your own posts. And if you're going to do those things, those are the things that will really magnify your presence on LinkedIn. You need to have some kind of strategy to do it over the long term. So if I were to turn up and just, let's say, post once a day for a couple of weeks and think, yeah, look at me, I'm doing social media, that's really not going to work. It would be amazing if it did work. So what you need to do is get your profile right, and that starts with getting your headline really tight, because that's the thing that everyone's going to see when they first look at you, and then committing to a strategy for building your presence. So that means commenting on other people's stuff, connecting with the right people, and creating your own content. And there's no magic numbers around this. One of the most common questions is how much, well, what should I post, but also how often should I be posting? How many hours should I be spending on LinkedIn? And I haven't found a magic answer for those things. You just need to find a cadence, a level of presence that you can be consistent with. So if you can only manage to post once a week and only manage to comment on 3 things a week, let's say, that's fine. Just stick with doing what you can manage, rather than trying to say, you know, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a day. You're probably not going to, are you? You're probably going to stop. So just so it's really important. And I think that the advice I give my clients who are just starting and they just think, okay, we've tried some other things, now we need to focus on LinkedIn, what do we do first? I'll say get the headline correct so that anyone looking at your profile or looking at your public comments will see what you're all about, and then comment on stuff. Commenting on other people's content is the easiest way of doing content creation, because someone else has already had the creative idea to start a conversation, which is all that content is the start of a conversation. And you're getting involved in spots where you can provide something supportive and authoritative and that shows your personal brand and that brings people to your door. It's really so important. So imagine I had no followers right now, and I come across Tina, who's just gone through 9,000 followers. Congratulations, Tina. And you were in a business that was relevant to me. I mean, you're a headhunter, so maybe this isn't the best example, but if it were, let's say that you were doing something in B2B that was particularly relevant to me. I've got no followers. I can come along, I can read your content, I can think of something that is supportive, authoritative, based on my experience, backed by data, ideally, and that adds to the conversation, doesn't take the spotlight away from you. And it will mean that all of those people who have tuned in for your content, or some of them at least, will see my contribution and they might go, wow, who's this guy? We need to go and find out more about him. And that is my way of marketing myself by supporting your content. So if you've got very little visibility, that's a great place to start. So if you mix a strong headline and a good comment strategy, you get loads of visibility. And I wish I'd known that when I was getting started on LinkedIn, because it took me a long time to get any real traction on LinkedIn. This is what I keep reminding people about. You know, a lot of people will come to me and say, I want to get triple digits of comments on my posts, or I want to get the kind of visibility that you've got, or I want to get 30,000 followers. It all has to start from that base of understanding what your personal brand is, and then just committing to showing up on a regular basis, and knowing that nothing magical is going to happen overnight. It might even take months before something happens, as it did for me and many others. But eventually, if you stick to it, then it'll really work out. How's that for starters?
Yeah, and it was really reassuring to read that in your book, that it can take a year and a half or even
More. Yeah.
3 years. I
Yeah.
was like, oh, thank you. Why doesn't anyone say that
Yeah.
anywhere? Because you think that it's just overnight success. Honestly,
Mm.
it's not. It's really the consistency and showing up and supporting others.
Yeah.
Um, and really commenting on their posts and
Mm.
engaging. That's
Yeah.
the secret. I think people are stressing too much about what they should post,
Mm.
instead of focusing on the commenting.
Yeah. If you're worrying about what to post, I mean, try and start more conversations with people and ask questions about what people want to know about. Look at your email inbox. I talk about it in Content DNA. Your email inbox and your sent items folder are like a gold mine. You know, they're full of questions that you've answered one-to-one that you could anonymize and generalize and talk about in public. If you can answer all of those, that will keep you busy for some time. And then try and have conversations with people. You know, look at what people are saying in comments and see how you can, maybe you'll see a comment that you reply to that then you turn into content. I'm doing this with my book. I mean, I did this with Content DNA. I'm doing the same thing with the second book, Relentless, that I'm writing at the moment, which is, if someone asks an interesting question in a comment and I reply to it, then I'll save that and I'll say, this is source material for maybe future LinkedIn posts, but also for my book or for my blog. So it's you know, doing it that way gives you a chance to repurpose your efforts. Because the last thing you want to do is just create one thing for social media and then people forget about it in a week's time, and then you're worrying about what to create next. If you can create something that you can reuse, so you have an idea and you can create a video out of it, and maybe you could create a podcast out of it, or do a live video like you're doing now, or you could create a long form article, or you could do a load of short form posts. There's lots of stuff out there that you can create. One of the important things I want to say about this idea of building an audience is, you know, some people have a negative view of this, thinking, well, I don't need to do that now. I'm in a job already. You know, I don't see the value of messing around on social media. But often the real value is building the audience now, because you will need it in the future. If you ever want to work for yourself, if you're not already doing that, you're probably going to need to rely on an audience. And I think the way that the working world is moving, that more entrepreneurs are taking control of their own career situation rather than relying on, who knows, maybe going back to work in an office that doesn't exist in a year's time. So you need to build an audience before you need to use the audience. And with innovations that are happening even on LinkedIn, such as boosting posts, this is something that's recently happened on LinkedIn company pages, and I think will eventually happen on LinkedIn personal profiles as well. If LinkedIn starts becoming a pay-to-play environment where people boost their content, the sooner you have a big organic audience, the more you're protected from the threat caused to you by advertising. Because if you don't have an audience and lots of other people start paying for ads, how on earth are you going to be seen? You're going to have to pay for ads too. And there's a potentially unlimited ceiling on how much you might have to be paid to be seen in the future. If you build your audience now, and you do that by creating a strong brand identity, having a clear headline, a really clear profile about what you do, and then commenting and creating your own content, that will put you in the top 1% of LinkedIn users straight away. And if you commit to it for long enough, you will become known in your industry. And then even if an ad environment really kind of takes over, you're still protected to some extent, because you are known. People will want to work with you, they will want to listen to what you're saying, they will want to be part of your email list. But none of that can happen unless you make a start, and it takes a while to build up. So why not start now?
And maybe if people are not comfortable with the word audience, think about it as your network.
Yeah.
if you think that you're safe because you have a job now, you saw last year what happened, and even before that, so many candidates with whom I work with, they have excellent reviews, performance reviews, and a month later, the whole European division is made redundant.
Yeah.
So you really need to invest and put in the time and effort before you need it. So don't wait to prepare the roof when it's raining. Do that before.
Yeah.
And when we were talking about reading content, following the questions, I just saw Craig Allen joined, and he asked last week such a good question that I repurposed. I made a post about it, and I said, "You're the winner," because it was really such a spot-on question.
It's great when you do things like that. It's another thing I'm going to be touching on in the second book, which is if you can create collaborative content, people can see themselves, you know, in your content. They contributed to it. Their name is up in lights. That makes people feel so good because they'll go, wow, she listened to me and she did something great. So when you publish that thing, of course, people are going to want to share it. They feel invested in it. So if you can do more things to collaborate with your network, it makes them feel like $1 million, you know, and I've done that with you, Tina, with the languages video. I can see Lena's question on the screen. She got involved in the languages video, doing other stuff together soon, I hope. So this makes people feel really connected. It's not just a list of names in a connections page. You know, people feel closer to each other when you collaborate with them on content. And she's asking, when's Relentless going to be published? I need to get it written first, probably early next year. That's about all I can commit to at the moment.
We are waiting, so
thank you.
Let's look forward to that. And then we have other questions. Alina is saying hello from Åland Islands. I know exactly the place.
Nice. I think she's meant to be on holiday now. She shouldn't be on leave.
Hi, Lina. And then we have a question from Jana from Montenegro. My question for John is your joyance for LinkedIn changed in the last 2 years? Where are you heading now? And are you as passionate about LinkedIn as before? Because once you master something, yes, there is much more to explore each day, and you have different aspirations. Your taste changes. Yeah.
Well, it's a good question. I think that LinkedIn is a massive subject matter. There's so many areas of LinkedIn that I know nothing about. And so there's no way I could ever say that I've mastered everything, not even close. But I like it because for me, it's the best platform for business conversations and for meeting really nice people. You know, and you know yourself, we were chatting earlier about the Friday Shout, and I've met so many good people because of LinkedIn over the last few years. And I just love being able to spotlight them and helping to reveal those people to other people in my network. And I have fulfilling chats on the platform, direct message conversations, voice notes, videos. And yes, I'm here because it helps support my business. But I've made friends here as well. I mean, I'd be losing a large part of my social life if I weren't here. So am I bored of it? No, I think it's fab. It's my favorite social media platform. And unless something really dramatic happens to change it, then I think it's something that will always be special to me. So no sign of me giving up anytime soon.
Yes, exactly. There are so many functions that you learn new things, and that keeps it really interesting.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I could spend all day researching new features and doing data testing and reporting my results and making videos and writing blogs. Just doing that without any of my client work, I could keep myself and replying to comments. I could keep myself busy all day, literally all day doing that. So there's no lack of material either. You know, it's constantly changing. They seem to be bringing out new stuff like every week. It's really hard to keep up with it all, but I'm trying my best.
Yes, and also like the events, if you don't really need it every day,
yeah,
you just learn it by doing it. So I think that's what keeps it interesting. So we have Thomas here.
What do you think of
Clubhouse of LinkedIn? Will
Well, we've seen a preview of it. We've seen a screenshot of LinkedIn working on a Clubhouse alternative, but they always take a while to implement tech solutions, and they're usually not as good as the other platforms when they do. So, for example, live video, Facebook had it 5 years ago. And even when Facebook released it back then, it was better than LinkedIn's is now, and LinkedIn's had theirs for a couple of years. So I don't expect it to be very good. And by the time that LinkedIn do release it, I think others will be way ahead. Twitter Spaces, Spotify Green Room, LinkedIn, Facebook are doing some audio rooms thing that was announced recently. And of course, Clubhouse is still around. So even though I've got a much, much bigger network on LinkedIn, I don't expect the audio rooms thing to be, I can't imagine that being my main audio platform, but I'll have to reserve judgment until I test it, which I doubt it'll be available this year, but who knows?
So we have other questions about posting. Is it really crucial to post on a daily basis, Dorothy asked?
No, definitely not. I mean, when I advise clients, I say when you're getting started, maybe 1 or 2 posts per week is fine. You don't need to post every day. If you can post every day and you can stick to doing that so that when we talk again in 6 months' time, you're still doing it, then brilliant, because that will get you a lot more visibility a lot more quickly. But if you can't commit to that, you should do only what you can commit to. And if that's 1 or 2 a week, then so be it. It's much more important actually to spend more time, as I said earlier, commenting on other people's stuff. And usually that's a lot easier because someone else has set the agenda. It's just a case of finding that content. So you can either find people who work in related industries or work in target markets, or by following hashtags that are relevant. And then you can formulate your home feed that way and look for opportunities to write something. And if you write 2 or 3 sentences on each, actually you can probably get a lot of comments done in a few hours. And maybe that's all you do in a week on LinkedIn. It will be enough to start increasing your visibility. And the way that you keep track of that, the most effective way, I think, is to look at your profile and look at how many people viewed your profile in the 90-day period. So wherever you are now, you can go and look at your profile and you can see a number and do those commenting and posting activities, and then check it again in a few weeks. And hopefully you will start to see that number go up. And the more it goes up, the more chances you have of having more fulfilling business conversations. I say to my clients, imagine that 1% or 2% of your people who are looking at your profile end up becoming your customers. Of course, I talk to personal brands and business owners, that they're not employees. So if you increase that number, you'll increase your number of customers if you're doing the right things, if you set up your profile the right way. So keep an eye on how many people viewed your profile. It's a really good measure of how much interest there is in your profile. And the people who get big numbers in those fields, they're always fully booked, or their books are selling out, or their courses are selling out. So just try and maximize that number as much as you can.
I have a question about, I already know the answer, and it's always such a relief. Like when you feel that life is getting busy, when you're in phone calls the whole day and it's a really busy period, and you see that business is going well, then the natural thing is to stop posting and stop commenting on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Now that the holidays are coming in Scandinavia, they're already here. What do you recommend? What should people do?
Well, I know from personal experience that one of my biggest mistakes was when I got super busy in 2015 with various projects, I stopped my marketing because I didn't have space for it. And then in 2016, I had my worst ever financial year. And that was because I had stopped my marketing the year before. There was a lag, there's a delay. And then you get hit with the reality of, okay, people don't know, have forgotten that I exist now because I've disappeared doing all my client work. So at that point, I committed that I would do at least 20% marketing activities per week. So if I work a 5-day week, that means at least one full day is given over to marketing. What that means is that I build my brand, I build my visibility, and I increase the demand for my services, and so I can increase my prices so that things balance out. So I'm doing less client work and doing more marketing work, but the marketing work means that I can increase the price of the client work, which means I can do a bit less of the client work to make the same money. Or I can do even more client work if I really want to and make more money. But the point is, if I stopped, even now, and I've got quite a good presence, but if I just stopped, no more posts, no more comments, no more DMs, I'm too busy, I've got my book to write, see you later, I'll see you back in a year, people would forget. People would stop getting in touch. People would stop buying the book. People would stop buying the course. People would stop buying consultations. Because who is he? He's gone. Where is this guy? I can't do that to myself, and I don't recommend that anyone else does it to themselves either. So for me, it's 20%. You need to decide what you're comfortable with, but 0% is the wrong number, always.
Yeah, I thought it was really comforting hearing this story, and that it's really, for you it's 20% of the time, but it really is an considerable amount to invest. So it really doesn't come from nothing. You have to put in the intention and hours.
Yeah, well, you really do. I mean, I don't want to be that guy who's glorifying just killing yourself with work and waking up at 4 a.m. every day so you can get your gym session done so you can work a 16-hour day. I'm not going to be that guy who says that. But all the people who do seem to succeed put in a lot of effort before they really, really make it. And then maybe you could argue that they can just live on their fame and their book sales and their high ticket value courses and stuff, and things become a bit easier and they can employ a team to manage things for them. But most of us are not at that stage yet. And I'm trying to be the most helpful guy on LinkedIn, right? That's basically what the subject of my second book is. So if I didn't put a lot of effort into it, it wouldn't really be right. And I call myself relentlessly helpful, not sometimes helpful. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can to be known as that person.
And I can vouch for that. It's true. Whenever I have a question, I always get an answer, and the things that we create together are so much better than anything that would be created alone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have another Friday Shout Club member, Kevin, asking, what are the 3 biggest missteps do you see members on LinkedIn doing daily?
Yeah, well, I think, there are so many, aren't there? But I suppose being in that majority of people who never react or comment or DM people or do anything on LinkedIn is probably the biggest mistake, because then you're essentially anonymous on this platform. Your chances of being found, of getting new work, of building fulfilling relationships, they all evaporate. You've got no chance if you're just a face in the crowd. So that's the first thing, is to be visible. the next thing would be not getting your profile correct. You know, it's really important to have a clear visual and textual brand, I think. So you have a nice photo, a nice banner, a really clear headline. The headline is the hardest thing to get right. It's such a small amount of space. But if you get it right, you make a real impact on the person reading. They know exactly what zone you occupy. And maybe you're not the right person for them. That's fine. At least they know straight away. The worst headlines are the ones that haven't been changed at all. So it's like project manager at so-and-so corporation. So what? I don't know what that means. You know, why would I want to have a chat with you, right? Or the ones that are so fluffy that they're making the universe better by being a unicorn or something. And you think, again, I don't know, why am I going to give you money today? I don't understand what you do. So being clear, but really defining a cool personal brand, a clear, interesting personal brand is important. And this takes some time, and this is what I've gone into in the first book. And then the third one is probably the one that everyone's been frustrated with, is just the fact that if you're going to make an effort on LinkedIn, don't be salesy about it. Just remember it's a human platform where you have real conversations with real people. Everyone who's got a profile photo is a real person, you know, unless it's obviously a robot, in which case block and ignore. But, you know, no one wants to be sold to. So just have a conversation, just slow down, I suppose. Instead of trying to connect with 100 people every day and do sell, wouldn't it be better to connect with 3 people a day and actually get to know them and know that they do cartoons in their spare time and that they speak 9 languages and that they've got kids and that they live in Belgium or whatever, and you can have a real conversation with them. That's much better, because when the time comes that you actually do have something to sell, maybe you can have a better relationship with that person to make the ask of them, or you can ask them for a favor, or you can ask them if they know someone who would want so-and-so. That's the approach. And that's the thing that so many people get wrong. It just takes longer. Like, you know, I might know you for 2, 3, 4, 5 years before I actually ask something directly of you. But when I do, I can be almost certain that you're probably going to say yes if you can. Whereas if we'd connected last year and I said, hey, Tina, I'd really like you to buy my book, and why don't you go and buy this shit? You should go and buy my course too. It's brilliant.
Why too?
Yeah. I mean, you're just going to go, no. Who are you? No, of course not. I'm not ready for that. So just slow down, stop the sales, and it'll work a lot better. So actually using the tools that LinkedIn give you, you know, you've got voice notes, you can do video notes, you can do group chats. It's so good. There's so many good tools. I mean, I talked about the tech not being brilliant, but for direct messaging, there's some really good stuff in there. And this is like the business version of WhatsApp. You know, you can really talk to each other. So use it.
Yeah, Craig says no salesy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's so important to say that your headline should be inviting to a conversation. If it just says project manager,
yeah.
But if it says project manager who is passionate about dry martinis, then we can start talking about James Bond, or
that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Something else.
Yeah, it's another important point, is to try and put some conversation hooks into your content. This is what I always try to do with everything I do. I mean, for my client work as well. But, you know, in my headline, at the end of my LinkedIn headline, I tell people to look for my secret word, right? So people might think, well, what's that? Well, it means that if people read my about statement, they'll see a secret word in there. And if they include it in their invitation, I'm more likely to accept them and connect with them. That kind of thing is a talking point. It's a way of opening the door. And Craig's just mentioned the salesy douche canoe. I put that in my headline because it makes people smile, or they'll ask, well, what is that? What does that mean? And then I can say, oh, it's from one of the chapters of my book, and the reason I wrote that is so-and-so. It's just a chance to have a conversation. So the more you can give people a reason to start a conversation, the better. And, you know, like one of my tips is always, whenever I look at someone's profile, especially if it's a European person, I will always scroll to the bottom and see how many other languages they speak. And if I can, you know, I can spot any other language than English, I can go to Google Translate. I can find out what hello or thank you is in their language. And then I can mention it in my invitation. And that proves to the other person that I'm not a robot and I've really read your profile. I've really tried to make a connection with you. And doesn't it feel great if someone greets you in your own language? I mean, you've got 9, so it could be any one of them, couldn't it? But it feels like, oh, okay, I'm not just, he couldn't have been sending 100 of these because put some effort into it. If you can make the other person feel special, that's good. And if you can give them an opportunity to chat with you by giving them a conversation hook to hold on to, that's great. And if they can do that back to you, that's even better. Because I hate it when I read a profile and I think, I don't know what to say to this person. I don't know anything about them. I'll probably ignore them. I'd rather speak to someone who's interesting, who talks about their hobbies or, you know, their languages or some amazing thing that they did. And I've got some reason to make a connection with them.
Yeah. We have a question from Rebecca about hashtags.
Yeah, okay.
Should you aim for a mix of niche and popular? Do you have insight into how the algorithm decides if your post should be shown to those following that tag?
Okay, so currently it looks as though, and LinkedIn say this themselves, it looks as though using 3 hashtags in your posts seems optimal. If you've got creator mode, you can enable up to 5 hashtags, but I don't know if I really want to do that. I've only got a couple on mine. I think I used to recommend using a combination of niche and popular, because let's say you've got 3 to play with. You could do 1 niche and 2 popular, or you could do 2 popular and 1 niche. And the reason being is that the popular ones will help you to get a bit more visibility from the people who are following those hashtags. But the niche ones could either get you direct business from someone who's looking for a very specific service provider, or it could be so niche that it's your own personal brand, and what you're doing is you're reinforcing a brand identity. And it's that latter thing that I like to do with my posts. So I will include, for example, hashtag content DNA, or more commonly hashtag LinkedIn Learner Lounge, because that's where I share my LinkedIn tips. And I say to people, follow me and follow my hashtag. And the reason is that's sending 2 signals to LinkedIn to say, I want to see his stuff. Oh, no, I really want to see his stuff. So I recommend that if you're going to try and build a personal brand, you should include definitely at least 1 personal brand hashtag in all of your content. But yes, including a more popular one can help to increase your visibility. But I found that even though I follow things like hashtag content marketing, which has got, I don't know, probably more than 1 million followers, I don't see that much content that is purely because of that hashtag. Okay, so I am starting to see more of it than I did before. So I think it's still probably a good idea to use popular stuff in your set of 3 per post. But I think it's probably more important to start building your own personal brand hashtag. It's better to be memorable. And you can do that by having a bit of fun with your own personal brand hashtag. And I've got a blog post that's all about, and I talk about it in the book as well, all about how to create a personal brand hashtag for you. And then again, it's about being consistent, not just using it once every couple of weeks. Try and use it in every post and reinforce what you're all about.
I use a hashtag Tina does LinkedIn on all of my posts, so I can find back all of them. So it's really practical as well. And
it's good for finding untagged shares as well, because sometimes if your content is popular, people will share it, and LinkedIn won't always notify you when that's happened. And even the reporting isn't always clear about when and who has shared your content. But if you look for if you do a saved search for your hashtag, it can sometimes reveal that, oh, so-and-so has shared my post and I didn't realize, but it's because I searched for my hashtag and that hashtag was in that shared post. And actually there was one occasion where that happened and someone had, I searched for my hashtag and it helped me find someone who had stolen my content.
Oh.
And he just copied and pasted the whole thing as his own. But he hadn't got rid of it. Yeah, he hadn't got rid of the hashtag. And so it helped me discover that material. So I think that's probably not very, very common at all. But I suppose you do need to be aware that if you write something popular, someone might copy it and you might never know otherwise. So it's just something to keep an eye on, because obviously, you know, people will want to do anything for engagement. Some people will anyway. And it's not very nice to have your stuff stolen, but it does happen sometimes.
Well, it could also be a compliment that
you're doing. Indeed.
I just was reading a post about followers, and so everyone we're connected to, we are also following them. But there are people who are following very few people.
Yeah.
So and yeah, that's my question. How to do that, and so that you will see the relevant posts of the people you want to see in your feed, and let's comment how are connections better than followers.
Okay, so to answer that question first, when you're connected with someone, by default you can see the people in their network, but also you can direct message each other. So those are probably the main things. But there are ways of messaging each other without being connected, you know, especially if you've got a LinkedIn Premium account, you can send in mails. But there are other methods. For example, if someone has providing services turned on, then people can message you for free, even if you yourself have a free account. So being connected with someone is not necessarily the only way to direct message the other person. And I don't know how much connection inspecting goes on. I mean, you know, you and I are connected. Have you come to my profile to look at who else I'm connected with? I don't know. Maybe you have. I don't expect that most people really use that feature. So for me, I suppose I would, as a content creator, it's better for me to try and increase my number of followers, because that's an easier thing to do than increasing the number of connections. And then if some of those followers decide to buy my book or book me for a consultation or buy my course or whatever, they can do that even if they don't connect with me. But if they do want to connect with me, they already know me because they've been following me for a while. So they're more likely to start a better conversation with me. You know, I've been following you for 6 months and here's your secret word. And great, I'm happy to connect with you. But if you're a complete stranger and you don't say anything, well, maybe you're about to sell me something and I don't want to connect with you. So I think it's better to follow someone first, get to know them, get to know their content, and then follow up with a connection request that shows that you value them and appreciate them, and that it's not just a sales message, you know, in secret. And with regards to the other thing that you said about unfollowing people, because LinkedIn doesn't make it easy for you to see who you want to see, which is, I suppose, one of my big frustrations, what you need to do instead is you need to remove the people that you're following from your feed, so that what's left behind is the stuff that you really want to see, which seems like a really inefficient way of doing it, but it's the only real way you can do it. So if you go to your profile and you click on your follow account, which on creator mode profiles is now shown right at the top of the profile, but on normal profiles, it's a bit further down. That will show you how many people you're following and how many people follow you in 2 tabs. And if you go to the following tab, you'll see a grid of everyone's face, and it will show how many posts they've done this week. And you can go...
Is it the right number? Because I was just checking that today, and some people had 93 posts this week.
Yes, it seems weird. Firstly, LinkedIn's week doesn't start on a Monday. I think it usually starts on a Wednesday or maybe a Tuesday. So it's not the same week that we normally know.
Okay.
So they're probably counting over from Tuesday or Wednesday last week. But also, it includes in that number anything they've done in a private group, even though you can't see that content. So if they've got their own private group and they've posted 50 times in there, that number will add to the public number, even though you can only see 5 posts publicly, let's say. And it also includes shares. You know, someone's shared a post without saying anything, that still counts as a post. So it's not always the most helpful number to see. But anyway, what you should judge on is not how many posts they've done, but how valuable that content is. So if you see someone and you go, I never really see this stuff, or when I do, it's not really interesting to me, just click the unfollow button. And what that means is they don't get a notification. You're still connected with them, even if you were connected before, you still will be connected. You know, if you weren't connected before, well, nothing, you've lost nothing at all. You've just unfollowed them. They've gone from your screen altogether. But the important thing is they won't be notified, and you can still see their stuff if you want to. So if I unfollow the person and then I thought, oh, well, I wonder how Barry's doing today, I can still go to his profile. I can look him up. I can see his posts, and I can comment if I want to. It's fine. And he can do the same to me. And that's cool as well, because I wouldn't want people seeing my content if I'm not providing value to them, because then all I'm doing is adding to the noise, and I'm occupying a space that could have been better filled by someone else. So if people feel that way about my stuff, I'm happy for them to unfollow me, because probably they're never going to be a client of mine. And, you know, it's all cool. If they wanted to ask me a question, they can DM me. I'm happy to answer, whether they're following me or not. I don't really care, you know. And I wish everyone would take that opinion as well. But I know in the past when I've talked about this, sometimes it's attracted some criticism, because it feels, oh, you know, you're hurting the other person by unfollowing them, or they might feel as though you don't really care about them. And it's not a personal thing. It's just that my time on LinkedIn has to be limited. I can't spend all day sitting there looking at my feed, because I do still have to put a roof above the head on the house, right? So it's just a case of maximizing what I do see so that it has most value for me. And what's most valuable for me today might be different in 6 months' time, and maybe someone I've unfollowed before, I might refollow because I changed my job, or you know, my values change or whatever. But it's not a personal decision. It's never that. If it were really a personal decision, I'd block that person. If I find them, you know, morally reprehensible or whatever, I'm going to probably block them. Unfollowing someone is just a case of, you know, your content's fine for your audience, but I'm not that audience. It doesn't give me value. I'm going to hide that so that I can focus on the other things. And what I also do to take it one step further is I bookmark some of the feeds that I really like the most. So in Chrome, I've got a folder full of people who's, you know, LinkedIn experts, for example, and I say, I must not miss this guy's videos or whatever. Then I can quickly just jump to that feed instead of going and find them or hoping that LinkedIn shows me that stuff.
Yeah. Rachel has a comment about the personal hashtags. John inspired me to start using my personal hashtag, but what happens when someone starts using it after you claimed it?
Yeah.
The other person using it and ask them not to use it, kind of awkward. I chose one that's with Tina with double I's. I don't think anyone will claim that. So make it really personal.
Yeah, I think the important thing to think about here is that creating a personal brand hashtag is not the same as creating a username. A username is something that you own. You go on Instagram, you create a username, it's yours, it's associated with you, everyone knows it's yours. No question about it. No one else can use that username without notifying you, and it's still very clear that it's yours. With a hashtag, that's not true. Anyone else with a bigger following could come along and start using that hashtag. And if they used it consistently and they've got a bigger audience, then it would be very, very hard to stop them doing that. So I suppose your hashtag is, in some ways, it is susceptible to being swallowed by someone who's got a bigger following who decides to use it. But if you're someone who's consistent in its use, then hopefully everyone else who's seeing that will see that you are truly the person who originated that thing. And that's actually a good point, that when you create your own hashtag, it's good to search for the hashtag first and make sure that no one else has used it before you. I mean, in your case, I'm sure that I'm sure no one did. But if you did come up with something that was used before, I mean, when I created Content DNA, I looked for that hashtag, and it had been used a couple of times many months ago, just a couple. I thought, well, there's no problem. It's just a one-off thing. But if someone was using it like every day in hundreds of posts, I can't come along and steal that. It's not fair. So it's about being responsible, I guess. But there's no way of claiming. You can't go to someone and say, "You stole my hashtag." There's no one to complain to, because it's not registered on a system. And of course, if you use it across platforms, I suppose that's another way of protecting yourself, is that if you use it on Twitter and on Instagram and on Facebook and on LinkedIn, even a little bit, that kind of is even more evidence that, yeah, I really was the one who started this. This is mine. And if you can get some popularity to that hashtag, then anyone else who uses it afterwards is actually helping you, not them, because they're getting more visibility. Because if someone clicks that hashtag, they'll see 100 posts from you and one from them. They're probably going to pay more attention to you. So someone actually, I won't mention her name, but she said to me, "Oh, I've used your hashtag and I'm really sorry. I shouldn't have done that." I said, "It's fine. No problem. You weren't trying to steal any praise. And actually, if anyone clicks on it, it'll come to my stuff anyway. So, hey, go mad. It's fine. I'm happy. Thank you for saying that." But yeah, so just keep that in mind. But if you start being consistent, it shouldn't be a problem, really.
Yeah, it just choose some that are really that people connect with you, and
yeah, try and give it some uniqueness. And like I say in the book, if you can add something clever in there, something short, something rhyming, something alliterative, you'll have something hopefully memorable. And that's what it's all about, being memorable.
I think one thing that nobody talks about as well is that you have to, like, if you start posting twice a week, keep that up, but it also needs to be fun. So that's what makes you continue doing that. So if you're really suffering those 2 times a week when you're posting it, maybe you shouldn't be doing that. It should be fun as well.
Yeah, definitely. I've had much more success with my content since I changed my approach, which was a sort of mid to late 2016, which was just before I really dived deep into LinkedIn, which is, instead of appearing all serious and professional and very, very accurate about every single thing, now I can wear a jeans and t-shirt, and I can come up with my cartoon, and I can have a bit of fun in my PS messages, and it's quite light-hearted, although I'm still talking about some nerdy data stuff inevitably, but it's done with a kind of relaxed, fun tone of voice, and that makes it a lot more relatable. It sounds like a conversation, and I think all good copy should sound like it's 2 people talking to each other in a informed discussion, but just still talking like humans and putting a bit of personality in, and the occasional joke in there is fine, So yeah, absolutely do that. Otherwise, you're not going to be memorable. People will just see you as a robot, or someone not to listen to. So yes, have fun. It's really important.
Yeah, and what has inspired me, the way you talk about taking action, and also taking action when you're doing the projects. So it really, sometimes people overanalyze posts, and they have the best post in their head, but nobody can ever see them or read them because it just stays there. But when you have this project, like the languages project, you invited people to participate. Everyone got their video done during the weekend.
That's right. That one it's another example I'm going to be using in the next book, which is moving from the idea to the execution as quickly as you can, so long as you're not going to do something that's going to kill your business, right? So we're not talking about jumping out of an aeroplane without a parachute here, but we're just talking about, I had an idea, I could test this, we could make this happen quickly, and do that, because otherwise you'll just stew on it and eventually you'll find a reason not to do it, and you'll have wasted a load of brain cycles in that process. So that languages video, it was 4 days between idea to execute, which was very, very quick, to be honest, but it was great because I had the idea. Actually, all the other people did all the work, and I did a little bit of editing and put it out. But it was nice. And if you can do more of that kind of thing, you know, have an idea, test it, see what works, do it in a low risk way. You know, you don't have to put loads of budget into things. People aren't expecting high polished Hollywood movies anyway, especially after the year we've just had. I think it's important. And all the people who seem to succeed just are happy to test ideas and, you know, see what works and move on and make incremental changes and progress, as opposed to someone who tries or thinks about trying something and then 2 weeks later goes, oh, you know, what if it's not good enough? And meanwhile, the other person is just doing lots of small, simple changes, and they're making a lot more progress. So that I love the action takers, because they're the ones who always succeed. I don't know if Rebecca Wilson's still with us, but she commented earlier, and she's a great example. She's taken loads of ideas from the book, and I know that if I give her an idea to do something, she'll go off and do it the next day or within the next week. And I love that, because that's a person who's going to win. All day long, I always want someone like that on my team. They're just, you can tell that person is motivated to succeed, instead of going, yeah, that's good, yeah, I might do that next year, yeah, I'll make a website eventually, yeah, and then they never do anything. I'm here to have people who want to do it right now.
That was the exact same thing. It's like, yes, I do speak 9 languages, but I never got around to record a video with those. I always thought I will do it later, but when John asked, it got done in a weekend. So
yeah, well,
it's really, I think it's so important to have accountability partners. So if you participate in John's course, he will know you, and if you have questions, you can always go to John and ask about it. Like, if I'm doing a video, I can ask John in a safe environment, what do you think? And he will tell you, you can do it better like this. So
yeah,
you don't have to do everything alone. So build the community on LinkedIn, and you will do so much better.
I probably need to say something about accountability groups, actually, which is because I've tried one before and it didn't work for me. And I know why it didn't work. It's because everyone became friends. And accountability is not about friendship. It's about being, you know, professionally critical with permission. And giving honest feedback. And especially in the UK, that people find that hard. I imagine it would be easier on the continent of Europe. People can be a bit more straightforward and straight talking. But if you go into an accountability group, you've got to pick the right mix of people who will honestly tell you when you've done something that isn't great, or you've missed a deadline that you've promised to do. My accountability group now is actually my audience. Because I will say stuff in public. Like when Content DNA was going to come out, I said, this is coming out at the end of March 2020. I don't care what happens. If there's a nuclear disaster, it's going to happen. And I knew that I can't break that promise, because I've just told 20,000 people at the time, right? So that's my accountability. You've got to do whatever's comfortable for you. But if you choose a group that can be hard with you, if they need to be. Praise you if you're doing good work, great. But who can tell you if you're not doing it quite right? Because that's how you're going to get better. If everything you do is hands in the air, oh, this is amazing, I love it, it's probably not right.
Yeah. So trust the people. Like your book is. It's also, it's not sugarcoating it. Sometimes I'm like, oh, why are those tips so hard? Because that's what you want to hear from an accountability partner, and that can be a book.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I could probably sell more copies if I turned it into this really cool, sexy message. What I tell people is very practical, very boring, often very uncool, very unsexy, but it works. So, you know, I'm just keeping it real with you. I'd be lying to you if I said, hey, you can get on LinkedIn and you can be famous in a month and then you'll have your Lamborghini. You know, that life's not like that. I'd rather tell you the truth. And sometimes the truth isn't very sexy, but it's still the truth.
Yeah, we appreciate your honesty. So I see that the hour has gone by.
Wow, that was quick. That was quick.
There are so many nice comments from all over the world.
Great.
I also saw some photographers here saying it's unbelievable that Alex from Belgium don't have a profile photo, and so
that is true. But I tell you what, yesterday I messaged someone within mail and said, you know, thank you for the recent interaction. By the way, did you know that your profile photo is not being shown to non-connections? And she didn't know. She had a photo. It just looked like a grey silhouette to me because she changed her settings by accident. And that's happened lots of times. So sometimes people do have a photo, they just haven't displayed it. So if that might be you. So go and check your profile photo settings and make sure it says visible to everyone, and then you're okay. And if you haven't got a photo, get one.
So I wanted to ask you one practical or two practical things that people could take away with them after seeing this live. What did you do?
Well, I'll go back to make sure that the opening part of your headline really encapsulates, the first 40 characters really encapsulates what value you're providing to the world so that it's memorable. It's not just your role, but it's positioned in a memorable way. And rely on the direct message options for having more human conversations. I use voice notes all the time. I know you do as well. I love those. You know, bring your humanity out in those. You've got to use the mobile app to do it, and you can only send messages up to 60 seconds, but it's so powerful when people can hear your voice. And I suppose adding to that, if you've got the ability to create a cover story, which is the 30-second video where you've got an orange ring around your face on people's profiles, that's a great way of humanizing, and just have a bit of fun with that and introduce yourself and say, hi, this is me. This is what I do. If you want to have a chat, let's get in touch. 30 seconds. It doesn't need to be scary, and it's just a really valuable thing. Just put a bit more humanity into your content. It'll really help you.
Yeah, so instead of sending a message, just send a voice message. People can hear you when you're laughing. That connects you better than 10,000 words.
It really does.
So thank you so much, John, for joining me today. It was a real pleasure, and talk to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, Tina. Cheers.
Bye-bye, everyone.